Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome back to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard here with you until 6:30pm with your latest look ahead to the sporting action for the Isle of Man this weekend. So, coming up tonight, Ayr United will be looking to make it an 8th straight victory at the top of the Men's Premier League, and the Women's Floodlit Cup gets underway in this weekend's Manx football fixtures. Nomads on the road on the Wirral this weekend in the Cheshire Bowl in rugby, whilst there's a Ravenscroft Manx Shield clash in the north of the island tomorrow. And the Isle of Man men's national hockey squad are in England Hockey Knockout Championship action on Saturday, along with the latest local mixed league games. That is all to come this evening. Very good evening. Welcome back to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. With you now until 6:30pm, taking a look at all the football, rugby and hockey action taking place this weekend. We're going to dive straight into it with the Manx football fixtures and a look at the dreaded weather forecast. Looks like we could be in for some bad weather overnight and into tomorrow. But nevertheless, games still scheduled to go ahead as it stands, so it feels high time. He's not joining me in the studio, but from elsewhere today. Good evening, Tony Mepham.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rob, and I'm getting a bit excited about some of the fixtures tomorrow, and I'm down at Laxey's pitch at the moment, where the biggest game, I think, this season, because Laxey's struggling a little bit at the moment against Ayr United, who are flying. So I've just popped down here to see me mate, and just looking at the pitch here at the moment, and it's in splendid condition here, but there are one or two pitches elsewhere that are struggling a little bit, and there'll be pitch inspections in the morning, but hopefully all games go ahead.
Yes, fingers crossed. We'll await the result of those pitch inspections come the morning. Well, nevertheless, let's take a look at the fixtures that are penned in across the leagues this Saturday and Sunday. Starting with Saturday, the Canada Life Men's Premier League. All games kicking off at 2:30pm. We'll start over at Gary Moore. Union Mills, who've had a checkered start to the season, I think it's fair to say, up against a struggling Russian United, Tony.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, but I think Russian have started to get it together a little bit, but still struggling. In front of goal, they could do with someone just taking the baton, really. I know Jamie Johnson's been scoring, and also Aaron Hawley, but someone else could do with just weighing in with one or two. But against Union Mills, you're right in what you're saying, checkered start, because it's up and down, isn't it? And Union Mills just struggling at the moment to get things going, because I watched them recently up at Gary Moore against Ramsey, I think it was, United, sorry, and they just didn't really create too many chances up front, and that's a problem for Paul Guyver to short out. They've got people who can score goals there. Defensively, they've looked okay, but just collectively they've found it tough going. And I think tomorrow, even though it is up at their place, I think Russian will take the points, and you'll see Russian start to climb up the league table now, a little bit better position than they have been.
And then we look to the north of the island. Ramsey, after that narrow 2-1 defeat against Ayr United last weekend in that top-of-the-table clash. They're back at home against St John's United, who got themselves a big 3 points last weekend.
Yeah, they did, and speaking to their captain, Sam Ingham, today, saying that they've got quite a few players coming back from injury and suspension, so that'll help things. I think fitness-wise, the players have just missed out on a few weeks because of the problems that they've had to try and just mend themselves. But Ramsey, as you rightly say, just lost out against United, and from what I heard, Ramsey deserved it. But when I say deserve it, Ayr played a lot better than Ramsey, and it was just one of those games for them, because I watched them against Corinthians recently, and they played all right, so they've got to try and get something out of this one. I think they will. I think Anthony Cooper and the squad there know that last week was a slip-up, and this week they've got a great opportunity against St John, so Ramsey to take the 3 points.
Very well, then we move on to the next game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, which will be taking place where you're stood right now. In fact, Laxey back at home at Glen Road up against Ayr United, undefeated at the moment with a perfect record of 7 from 7 so far going into this weekend.
Yeah, they're absolutely flying, Rob, and what's more impressive is last week they're missing two of their sort of star centre-backs, and Harry Weatherall and Nick Hurt took over the two centre-back roles and did a really good job against Ramsey. But I think Jamie and Johnny Shields, that's Jamie Callister, are back. So that'll give Nick Hurt a bit of a headache problem because certainly he's come in and done really well in the couple of games I've watched him play. And I just feel that Ayr United at the moment have got the bit between the teeth. And Christian Penswick also could start, which is a big plus for them at the back. But Laxey, speaking to Johnny Palmer earlier, that the players are missing this week. There's one or two not available. I think Brodie Patience suspension is finished, but unfortunately he's away, so that's a big loss for them. Ryan Gartland's suspension will start, and I think he got 3 games, so that's a costly exercise for Laxey. But it'll be a great crowd down here, and I'm just looking at the pitch. It's in brilliant condition. The boys have done a magnificent job this week, but I just think the way Ayr are playing at the moment, Rob, I'm going to go for Ayr to win.
And I was at that fixture last season. Very entertaining indeed. Okay, moving on. Braddon, they'll be hosting St Mary's this weekend.
Yeah, and St Mary's last week did really well. They worked hard and they play some good football. And I think there's one or two sort of players there who are really playing out of their skin. And one of them, Therese Thompson, who transferred from Old Boys, has looked really well. But I like this two centre-back pair, and I know they've got Jack McVeigh now, but Jack's in the FC Isle of Man squad. But when you look at Josh Evans, and you also look alongside him, everyone's working hard. And one of the players that has really caught my eye is Chris Aspridge. I think he's been a great signing for them. I didn't think it was a centre-back. I thought it was midfield, but he's looked really strong. But Braddon last week, they held their own against Corinthians, but unfortunately they couldn't get any goals, and that's a bit of a problem for them. I know they had that great result against Geordies, but I'm going to go for St Mary's to win.
And then 2 other games rounding off the Premier League this weekend. St George's, they'll be hosting Corinthians, and also a bit of a Western derby, Moran hosting Peel.
Yeah, St George's Corinthians are going to go for Corinthians. Dan Simpson's back in the squad. Still no Adam Killier, and Jack Collins played really well in goal. So that's been a big plus for Ben Qualtrough. When you look at the two centre-backs, if they play in that centre-back role, is Darren Kane and Stewie Smith have looked really strong. Midfield, they've worked hard. Josh Kane's looked really good. And the young lads as well have been pretty impressive. I think Josh Ridings will play on that right-hand side, and hopefully the delivery will come through the boys in the middle. But St George's, Sean Quay still suspended, and I believe Kieran McNulty's taking a little bit of time out. He's a new dad, so he'll be looking at those sort of times where he can play. So I'm going to go for Corinthians to win.
And
Moran and Peel.
Peel as well.
Yeah, sorry about that one. And Peel, I know, have been looking around pitch-wise, because I think Moran's is a bit touch and go, Rob. The game is still on at Moran, but I know they're looking at to see if they can sort of find maybe another venue. But hopefully the rain that comes in tonight's not too bad. But Peel definitely to take the points against Moran.
Very well, we have a few more minutes, so let's have a quick look through the other divisions, starting off with the 5 games in DPS Limited Division 2, and among those, Foxdale travel to Maloo, where they have the chance to maintain their perfect start of 6 wins from 6. So, Tony, those 5 games there, take us through those.
Yeah, Douglas and District against Ramsey Youth Centre had a terrible start, Ramsey Youth Centre, but I think they've got it together now, and Douglas and District bottom of the table, so you only see Ramsey Youth Centre winning that one. Maloo against Foxdale. Foxdale do it every year, don't they, Rob? They're there or thereabouts, and then suddenly towards the end of the season it all sort of disappears for them. But go for Foxdale. Onken against Governors. I think Onken will be too strong for a much improved Governors Athletic. Castletown against Michael. That's the big one, isn't it? And credit to Michael, over the last couple of years they've worked so hard to get a squad together to possibly compete, and they've got one now, so that's going to be tight, but I'll just go for Town. And Pulrose against Jims. Pulrose should just have enough strength up front to take the points in that one.
Very well. Now we move into the combination leagues. 5 games in Canada Life Combination 1. As we mentioned, usually all games kick off at 2:30pm. One exception in Canada Life Combination 1. One of those kicks off at 1:45, Tony.
Yeah, let's have a look at Russian against Union Mills. Union Mills doing ever so well in this Combination 1 league. When you look where they finished last year to where they are now, and Russian haven't had the sort of results that they had last season where they won every single game, so it's going to be a tight old game. I'm going to go for a draw. St John's against Ramsey, I'm going to go for Ramsey to win that. Ayr against Laxey. Ayr right up there towards the top of the table. Ayr to win. St Mary's against Braddon. St Mary's at the top of the table, so I'll go for St Mary's to win that. And Peel against Moran. I just think Peel's young players there will be too strong for Moran.
And it's that St Mary's versus Braddon game that's a 1:45pm kick-off. And last but certainly not least, on Saturday, we have 5 games penned in for DPS Limited Combination 2.
Yeah, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys are right up in the top 3, so I'll go for Old Boys to beat Douglas and District. Foxdale against Maloo. Foxdale also strong in this one, so I'll go for Foxdale to win. Governors Athletic against Onken. Onken to take the result there. Michael against Castletown should be a good battle. I'll go for Michael to win that. And Colby against Douglas Athletic. I think Colby are too strong.
Well, those are your fixtures for Saturday, and the footballing action continues on Sunday. And one of the headlines for Sunday is that the Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup gets underway. We have 2 games there. Corinthians versus Onken, 2:10 kick-off at the Bowl, and then straight after 20-4 at the Bowl, Douglas Royal versus Maloo.
Yeah, and it's always the sign, Rob, of the weather, because the clocks go backwards, I think it is, this week. So the women now move on to the Astro on a Sunday. Corinthians against Onken. I'll go for Corinthians to win that, but Onken will be a tough opposition for them. And Douglas Royal against Maloo. Close battle in this. The reason why I say that, I think Douglas Royal might be 1 or 2 players missing, but I think Douglas Royal have just got enough to win.
And last but certainly not least, on Sunday, 2 games in the Masters football, both kicking off at 2 o'clock. Laxey versus Union Mills at Laxey, and Douglas Royal versus Corinthians at Douglas Royal.
Yeah, the Masters move back on grass now till January. Laxey against Union Mills. Was really impressed with Laxey when they played us and beat us 6-0. And I think Laxey have got a great opportunity to win this league. Laxey to beat Mills, and Douglas Royal against Corinthians. Always a close battle, but I know because I'm the manager, we're a few players, quality players short this weekend. So I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle. Douglas Royal to win.
And just one final question, Tony, before we let you go. We've already talked about there may be pitch inspections in the morning. We're anticipating some adverse weather overnight. So roughly, for those who don't know, when do we expect those pitch inspections to be taking place across the island tomorrow?
There are all sorts of times, Rob, but some clubs are very early, sort of 9 o'clock, but 10:30 seems to be the main time that people get in touch. As soon as we've got the information, we'll put it on our social media, and we'll let Manx Radio know. But touch and go at the moment with the weather forecast that's coming in, but hopefully it's not as bad as anticipated.
Well, fingers crossed. Tony Mepham, thank you very much. We'll be catching up with you tomorrow.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, turning our attention at this time to rugby, and there's a break this week in the English Championships leagues, meaning both Douglas and Vagabonds men won't be in action this Saturday. Also not taking to the field tomorrow are Vagabonds ladies. They've forfeited their match against Southport in the Papa John's Intermediate Cup. But there is rugby action elsewhere, as Southern Nomads will battle it out in the Wirral in the Cheshire Bowl, and a Ravenscroft Manx Shield tie beckons in the north of the island. Here with the details is our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian.
Southern Nomads top the bill this weekend. They're away in the Cheshire Bowl competition. They have an away tie at Oxton Parkonians. Parkonians, very well known to the island, played Ramsey and Vagabonds a number of occasions. Parkonians, smashing bunch of fellows. Richie Beckett, the president, a very talkative gentleman if you could ever get away from him. Southern Nomads are heading there to Oxton, out there on the Wirral, 2:30 kickoff. It's going to be a tricky one for Nomads. They'll fancy their chances. Parkonians don't play in the English Clubs Championship at the moment. They're in the Northwest Regional Leagues. They're doing okay. They've won, I think, 4 from 7, so they're just above mid-table. Pretty much all the teams in their league are known to the Isle of Man sides. Nomads will have nothing to fear. They've got great Cheshire Cup experience in the past. They've won in the plate and the bowl competitions previously, brought the silverware back to the island. Good experienced side, pack of forwards that know their stuff. Ori Watterson in a bit of a linchpin for them. He's off to foreign shores very shortly, moving to France. He'll be a loss for them, but this will be one of his few remaining games before he departs. Out in the back line, no doubt about the Nomads' pace out there. Will Tazier, Harry Corrin have both been running in tries for fun. They also got Tom Collister there, Jacob Holstein, and a host of others. And inside them, George Collister and Mark Young, a very experienced group at half-back. So they've got all the right players in the right places. Whether or not the competitive league structure that Parkonians are playing in will give them a bit of an advantage, it remains to be seen. Parkonians can be a little bit damp underfoot, though. It's a veritable mud bath if the weather's not been right. So that might level the teams up a little bit and negate some of the advantages Nomads have. Fingers crossed for Nomads, they can do this. They've lost to New Brighton already in the competition, which means they need to win all their remaining games with bonus points to have a sniff of the final. They could potentially still do this, but they also need somebody else to beat New Brighton, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Domestically, just one game in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield this week. It's Ramsey against Western Vikings. The other game, Southern Nomads Castletown, that's been postponed to allow Nomads to play in the Cheshire Comp. Ramsey against Western Vikings should, on paper at least, be a Ramsey win. However, I do note that Douglas of Vagabonds not playing. Southern Nomads won't be taking all their players with them. And what we're trying to encourage is players who aren't playing for their regular team is to move around and try and help other people out if they're a little bit short. Now, Western Vikings can't rely on this for too much. They've got Cheshire ambitions of their own. They're going to need to find 15 Vikings, really. But in the short term, if there are any spare players, they're welcome to come up to the Mirrock Park and join in up there and help Western Vikings out if they're short on numbers. Ramsey have got a full team. That was announced last night. Few changes, and surprising ones as well. Brandon Atchison, one of the leading point scorers in England last season, he comes in from his normal wing and he's going to have a go in the back row for Ramsey tomorrow with an all-new back row. Atchison's in there, Josh Cateen's in there, and Magnus Black is going to move from hooker into the back row as well. So all new back row. Half-back pairing is going to be new for Ramsey. Dan Richmond's going to take off the number 10 shirt, put on number 9. And Josh Lees is going to get a run in the 10 jersey. And Nathan Brew comes in on the wing with Jake Richmond dropping to fullback from centre. And he's replaced in the centre by Connor Goodall. So a little bit of a move around the Ramsey side. Whether or not that's good for continuity, I don't know. I also don't know whether the coaches have got one eye on the Cheshire game against Moore that's coming up in 3 weeks' time. If that's the case, fair play. I can see the changes and they can see making sense to let them bed in. But they might be just having a little flip around just because there's other personnel not available. But I'll find out more on Saturday. That will be the featured game in Saturday Live. Ramsey against Western Vikings, Mirrock Park, 2:15 kickoff.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally tonight, it's not only the latest round of fixtures in the Manx Mixed Hockey Leagues that beckon tomorrow, but also the first outing this season for the Isle of Man men's national squad. They'll be contesting their first match of the England Hockey Men's Tier 2 Knockout Championships when they welcome Timperley men's seconds to the NSC tomorrow, with Neil Crowe taking charge of his first game as Isle of Man men's team coach after his appointment earlier this week. With a look ahead to this exciting encounter and the rest of the weekend's matches is Ben Cunningham.
Very exciting times, and it's great to see an England hockey match being played on the island. A very tough task ahead for Neil. His first game, and it's the first round of this England hockey knockout stage. I think they stand a good chance. The team look really strong, and from the way they've been training hard week in, week out. And I think Neil's got a very good squad there going into this game, and I really do hope that they come out with the goods.
Well, the other local leagues are still in action around all this through the course of Saturday. We'll start with the two games that are taking place in the Premier League. 11:05 at the NSC. That sees Vikings B up against Harlequins A.
Yeah, really interesting game ahead. Of course, Harlequins drew with Backers B 5-5 last week. Vikings were on the end of a heavy defeat to Backers A last week. Vikings B, though, they have pretty much had the same season as Harlequins, and they are pretty much nip and tuck. Just Harlequins are ahead by a point. So this game's got a lot riding on it, but I think Harlequins will probably just be more clinical on the day, and I'm going to go for a Harlequins win here.
The other Premier League game this Saturday is at 2:05 at Ramsey Grammar School. Backers B up against Ramsey A.
Yeah, and Ramsey A really do need to get something out of this game, otherwise it's going to be a long road ahead of them for the rest of the season. Backers B, though, they've been looking really good. I think Backers B will just be too strong for Ramsey, and I'm going to go for a Backers B win.
Let's very quickly look through the other divisions then. We have 3 games this weekend in Mixed Division 1.
And the first one in this league is at 2:05 at QE2, and this is Valkyries B against Castletown Camags. Castletown Camags yet to score points. Valkyries B are still hunting Castown Southerners down, so I'm going to go for a Valkyries B win there. 3:35 at the NSC, Battle of the Sea teams between Vikings C and Backers C. Vikings C gave Castown Southerners a good run for their money last week. Come back from being 3-0 down to being 3-all and then just losing 4-3. Backers C's form's been up and down this season, so I'm going to stay on the fence here and I'm going to say a stalemate for that one. Finally, in Mixed Division 1, it's Castown Southerners against Valkyries C. 3:35 at QE2. Castown Southerners look really good. They had a little bit of a scare last week against Vikings C, but I think that they will be pretty comfortable against Valkyries C this weekend.
3 games also in Mixed Division 2.
12:35 at QE2, and this sees Valkyries D against Backers Colts. Valkyries D have had a really, really good run recently, and they've only just lost out on the last 2 games by a goal. Backers Colts have been looking good as well, but I think Valkyries D will be too strong, so Valkyries D win there. Second game is Castown Cushags against Vikings D. This is 11:05 at Castle Rushen High School. Vikings D have been looking really good and really hard to beat so far this season, and they're absolutely bossing this league. However, Cushags might prove a shock to them, but I think Vikings D will be too strong on the day, so Vikings D win there. And then finally in Division 2, Vikings E against Ramsey Ravens, 3:35 at Ramsey Grammar School. Ramsey Ravens second in the league, Vikings E still rooted to the bottom of this league and looking for points, and they need to get something out of this or it's going to be a long road ahead of them for the remainder of the season, but I think Ramsey Ravens are going to be too strong, so Ramsey Ravens win.
And last but certainly not least, 3 games as well in Mixed Division 3.
First game in this league is at 11:05 at QE2, Backers D against Castown Carricks. Backers D have been getting really good results. Castown Carricks, though, they're down the bottom, but they have been giving teams a good battle. But I think Backers D will be favourites on the day. Second game, 12:35 at Castle Rushen High School. And this is Castown Cosney against Harlequins B. Harlequins B have been looking really good. They deserve to be up the top. Absolutely proven that they're definitely wanting to get that promotion this season after missing out last season. Castown Cosney could give them a test here. Finally, 12:35 at Ramsey Grammar School is Harlequin C against Ramsey Rookies. When these teams last met, it was a stalemate. I'm going to go for a Harlequin C win, but I'm going to say don't be surprised if it does end as another stalemate, as these 2 teams are pretty much evenly matched.
And that is all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week. Many thanks to my guests Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and have yourself a wonderful weekend as well. Chris Kinley is here with you next, but from me, until next time, it's bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.